Dear Nintendo, you're my favorite game company. I've been gaming on you for practically my entire life. I turned 32 this year. My favorite franchise, The Legend of Zelda, also turns 32 this year. It's really fitting for me to be still talking about you here in 2018 at Nintendo Prime. Clearly a channel named after the company I am most passionate about, at least when it comes to my entertainment. But we need to have a talk. You see, you dropped 3 bombs on Twitter last night. 3 bombs that I am entirely appreciative of their existence. As an example, I will just go through them right now. You said that Nintendo Switch's online services, the paid online services, will be launching in September 2018. You then, this is all within an hour, by the way, also announced that Nintendo and Illumination are partnering on a movie starring Mario that is co-produced by Shigeru Miyamoto and Chris Meledandri. And on top of that, if that wasn't enough, you also tweeted out that the checkered flag has been raised and the finish line is near. A new mobile application is now in development, Mario Kart Tour, and is releasing in the fiscal year ending March 2019. Now here's the deal. These announcements are great. They're grandiose. They're important. A Mario Kart game or application of some sort on a mobile device, that's big news. A brand new movie, that's big news, starring Mario of all things. And your online system that we have been, I don't know if patient is the right word, but anxiously awaiting to see what this all entails and what's going to happen with it. Here's my problem, Nintendo. My problem isn't that you talked about these things and announced general release dates or even announced that the Mario movie example's happening. What I don't like is that you chose Twitter as a means to release all this rapid-fire news. This is not something that I feel is indicative of proper communication with your fans. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't communicate through social media, but you dropping nuggets without any explanations is not going to help your cause. So, as an example, Nintendo Switch Online, we didn't really hear much about it since you announced it, right? You announced it way back in January of last year, and you announced some of the key features of it, with the NES games that have multiplayer aspects added to them that you get every month, and the mobile app, and blah, 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 blah. We talked about all this stuff, but then you dropped the test fire. You kind of sort of announced the pricing where it'd be $20 per year, and that's fine. And it's understandable that some Nintendo fans are now a little tepid because over a year after the system is out and after we've been playing Mario Kart 8 and Splatoon 2 and all this stuff, suddenly you're going to charge. And here's the deal. We knew you were going to do this eventually, but this is almost going to end up coming 6-8 months too late. If you had gotten out the online account system paid service within the first year, I feel like people might not have reacted so negatively, but I have seen a ton of negative reactions for this Nintendo Online system and the way it was announced and the fact that you are announcing a release month for it without giving us any detailed information on what this charge is going to all entail. Yes, I realize you talked about it back in January, but if that's all it entails, that's not enough. I'm sorry. Most people aren't using your online app. No one's really using the voice chat, and people are kind of viewing this as you are pay-gating current services that are free and have been free the entire time. And here's the deal. Obviously, this is what Microsoft did back in the day when they started paywalling, and then PlayStation Network started doing it, but we're not back in the day anymore. We're in 2018. Even for the cheap price of $20 per year, you can't really just charge that to give people the ability to play online. You need to provide something, and while the NES games, the multiplayer aspects are cute, you haven't given us an example of what that is like. So I understand there's plenty of time between now and September 2018, but again, Twitter is not the way to make a major announcement like this. You need to use Twitter as a supplement to a PR release or an interview or some form of informational gathering to allow us to properly assess what's happening. And I understand maybe some of this came out because of some questions that were happening in the Q&A session of your investors meeting, but even then you should flesh out this stuff when you're talking about it in a public setting like Twitter. Just dropping a nugget like this without any additional information only creates, I think, more questions than answers. And that's not what you want people doing when you get an announcement like that. Now, this actually continues on into your announcement of the Mario movie. It's been rumored to be, in existence for a while, or at least in negotiation phases. Haven't really had any official confirmations, but now we know it's being made with Illumination, with Shigeru Miyamoto and Chris Meledandri, and that's great. But this is kind of a big deal. It's a major movie announcement. You figure you'd want to announce it with something more than just a tweet. You figure you'd want a proper press release with images of, like a lot of Nintendo fans might have no idea who Chris Meledandri is. They might not even know what Illumination Studios is. Now, I happen to know, but a lot of people out there that follow Nintendo might not, because there's not necessarily that inherent connection between people who watch Illumination movies and Nintendo. And even if you have seen a movie by Illumination Studios, you might not realize that movie's by Illumination Studios. They're not as in your face as, say, Pixar is. Like when you get a Toy Story movie, Pixar is really in your face. It's hard to ignore that Pixar created that movie, but still people will call it a Disney movie and might not know who Pixar is. Whereas Illumination Studios is a little more subdued, and you might not realize what movies they have created in the past. So that's why a proper press release explaining the partnership, explaining, how amazing Illumination Studios is, giving examples of their work, talking about the history of Chris Meledandri and why he's the right person for the job, and what kind of role Shigeru Miyamoto is going to play as a producer. Is there going to be scripts? Are you looking at Mario talking? Like, there's obviously questions that can be answered over time, but it's something that when you make a movie announcement, generally you give some background for that announcement, and they didn't give us anything. They just said, hey, look, we're making a movie with Illumination Studios. These are the two people co-producing it. Have a good day. Who's directing it? It's just not a smart move in my mind. And I'm not going to say that movies have never been announced in this way. They have. But you should take note from how poor of an announcement strategy that is. And then following that up, your quick tweet about online to this, it feels rushed. It feels like someone at Nintendo got a hold of your Twitter account and has all this information, and they're about to get fired, so they decided to rapid-fire tweet these things out before they got kicked out the door. Just because they want to leak stuff. That's what these tweets actually feel like to me. It's so weird. Then you follow this up with Mario Kart Tour, right? So you release a little logo for it. Nothing really else about it. Just that the finish line is near, and it's going to launch before the end of March. The new fiscal year upcoming, which ends on March 2019, and so, yeah, sometime in, roughly the next 13, 14 months, we're going to see Mario Kart Tour, and that's great. You mentioned it's an application rather than saying it's a game, so I don't know if that really matters. You might just consider everything that you release on mobile devices to be an application rather than a standard game like on Switch or 3DS. But even then, this is just a weird way to announce it. You shouldn't really announce this happens, but I don't like when companies announce a game without showing us anything about the game. Even just a pre-alpha screenshot, so we at least have something to chew on instead of just being like, basically, we're bringing Mario Kart to phones. What does that mean? How does that work? Does this work in tandem with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe? Does this work in tandem with a future Mario Kart 9? Like, when we said the Animal Crossing game is coming to Switch, coming to mobile devices, you also hinted that it would work in the future with future Animal Crossing games. We don't know what that means. Maybe that's Animal Crossing on Switch. We don't know, but at least we know that there was a plan for it. All we know right now is that, hey, look, Mario Kart's coming to your phone. We got no information for you, no additional information besides a release window. And I just don't like the way that they're announcing that. I'm not saying that Mario Kart Tour needs to be thrown in a Nintendo Direct or even needs a trailer dropped at this point when it's so far out, but at least a press release, right? Like, I opened my inbox this morning fully expecting to see press releases. See, I didn't report on this stuff last night. One, because I was live streaming, and two, I'm like, that can't be it. There needs to be some follow-up media for these three major announcements, but there wasn't, Nintendo. And I'm not mad at the announcements. I don't mind that Mario Kart's going to phones. I don't mind that there's a Mario movie being made, and I'm cool with the fact that we finally know when the Nintendo paid online service is coming. I just don't like the way you approach these announcements on Twitter. And maybe it's just something new you're trying out. You know, you're trying to put these side announcements outside of the bounds of trailers and you know, Nintendo Directs and events and stuff like that, where you just, these announcements don't matter as much, so we're just going to do it over social media. But there's still, even over social media, better ways to do this. As I said, including a screenshot from Mario Kart Tour would have been nice, you know, even if it's preliminary and things are due to change. Giving us some background information for the movie announcement. And then, obviously, you're talking about a service, Nintendo Switch Online will launch in September 2018 with this exclamation point, because it's this big, exciting announcement, when right now, all I'm seeing is Nintendo fans being like, okay, well, you didn't tell us anything about the service, so right now it just feels like we're just going to be paying a fee, albeit a small fee, to play games online. And that's not something that it's something that's probably still going to work for you and still going to sell, especially when we hear, you know, news like, you know, I think the PlayStation Network has 70 million users on it now. Xbox Live has 59 million subscribers or something. So like it's nice that you're seeing the success of the subscription services, which made Nintendo want to get into it in the first place. But at least now those services have evolved and they're offering a lot, whereas Nintendo isn't quite there. So we'll see. I'm not criticizing these things individually, in that they could all end up turning out to be great. I don't like the way Nintendo chose Twitter to do this. So as I said to you, Nintendo, dear Nintendo, try to learn from these kind of announcements that you've made and do it better in the future, because it can be done better. You've done it better. Just dropping this stuff without explanation it's mind-numbing to me as a Nintendo fan, even as much as I actually really like all three of these announcements. Anyways, folks, I am Nathaniel Rufflejans from Nintendo Prime, and if you like this video, you know what to do. And if you dislike the video, hit that dislike button, subscribe for more content, and as always, let me know what you think about all three of these announcements and the way they were announced down in the comments below.
Yes.